feeding people. It's not like there's no lives being saved. There's no like new science. Like there's nothing, you know, other than we entertain people's palates, and it for some reason it's just incredibly high stress. And one of the stressful things is when people are hungry, they're really irritable, you know? So you have to think like everyone that comes to my restaurant is in a bad fucking mood. They're really hungry. All these sorts of things. And the thing that wait staff and all the front of the house loses track of, everyone is hungry. Get them some food. Stop arguing with them and bring them something to eat. And they're going to be happy.
Yes, chef. I'm chatting to Chef DiJoseph, my friend. He's a good guy. Funny too. Being a chef is insane. There's no way I could handle that level of stress. We talk about his family history, the CIA, not that CIA, the Culinary Institute of America. His experiences in the restaurant business. He's going to describe the best compliment he ever received from his idol chef, Jean-Louis Paladin. The dish he prepared for him, it sounds so punk rock. Food. I love food, all kinds of food. I have no allergies, no dietary issues. Food, it's a bridge that connects us to each other, breaks down barriers. It fosters community, trust, nourishes both the body and soul. It was my nan and granddad's 60th wedding anniversary many moons ago, and we rented this stunning property in Mango, Italy. We had an amazing 7-course meal prepared by a personal chef. It is like an all-time family favorite memory, and it lives on, even though nan and granddad are both gone. You know, special times, smell, taste, sound, all stir the senses and bring back memories. Do you have a special memory around a dish or food you like to eat? Anyway, I hope you enjoy our conversation as much as I did.
Can you hear me?
Hello, how are you, mate?
It's really nice to be able to sit down and talk to you and chat for a few minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen you in a while.
It's been a minute, been going through a lot of changes, so I've been keeping to myself.
You went to the Culinary Institute of America in New York, right?
Correct.
And you come from a large Italian American family of food service professionals. So it's almost like it was in your blood. You were destined. Was it a no-brainer going to Culinary Institute for you?
Retrospectively, yes, all of these things like make sense now when I look at them. Yeah, I started cooking at a really, really early age, maybe 7, with my mom making pasta. My job was to turn the handle on the pasta machine, and we'd make pasta like all day on Saturday and lay it all out on big linen tablecloth with dowels and dry everything. And it was always just really natural. I always just wanted to cook for myself more so than other people, but that came later.
Let's see. Your great grandmother owned an Italian restaurant called Vesuvius. It's a
Vesuvius, yeah,
yeah.
8th Street Northwest, where the FBI building is now. Turn of the century, turn of the 20th century. They had a 3-story brownstone. My great grandfather Liberato, he made wine and was a nefarious character in the basement, and then they lived on the first floor, and the restaurant was on the top floor. It was just called Monarchia's Place for a long time, and there's nothing that exists. There was no menu or anything like that. It was called Vesuvius because that part of my family is from Campabassa, so in the foothills of Vesuvius.
I also did a bit of research, and your great aunt worked as a pastry chef at the White House in the 1920s.
Yeah, my mom's great aunt, they call her Sissy. I think her name was Katie. Um, she was the pastry chef under Wilson. Weird White House ties, unrelated. My Italian part of the family, my great uncle John, my dad's father's brother, was the White House still portrait photographer from Calvin Coolidge's inauguration through Clinton, John DiJoseph. So we had multiple people working at the White House.
So, the turn of the 19th century, your great grandmother had a clandestine restaurant in DC where the FBI building is now. It was on the third floor. And then your great grandfather made wine in that basement. Then your mother's great aunt was a pastry chef in the White House under Wilson. Then you had a great uncle who was a portrait photographer in the White House for 60 years. You've got a very interesting family history.
I thought everyone had crazy, interesting families, but it turns out like mine's just a little bit more out there. And my grandfather, Lawrence, also Lawrence, I'm the third. He was senior. He ran a delicatessen that he owned, Monticello Delicatessen in Alexandria from 1936 to 1968. And he was a neighborhood fixture over there. Like you could get a pizza, you could dine in. There was like a little grocery store. They had a soda fountain, and he was a fixture in the neighborhood till the neighborhood sort of started changing, and he got robbed a few times, and they closed in the late '60s.
What happened to your great grandfather and his winemaking in the basement?
It turns out my great grandfather was arrested for bootlegging during Prohibition, and he did 2 6-month concurrent terms. And my grandfather told me when he was a kid, like the horse-drawn wagon would show up in the middle of the night full of grapes, and they'd have to unload all the grapes real quick into the house before the police came around and saw a truckload of grapes being unloaded into a restaurant's basement. So he would make wine in the basement. And the article she found said he was arrested. When he was arrested and they raided the restaurant, it was 1,500 bottles of wine. So it was like 125 cases of wine and brewing equipment and mash and all sorts of shit. So yeah, he did that, and then he ran numbers for some mobsters, and he was like a bookie. But nobody talked about that or anything. That the whole generation died, and my grandfather never told us anything about it. So a lot of these things I found out after the fact. And just I asked my dad, I was like, your grandfather was in prison? He's like, what are you talking about? And I showed him an article, and he's like, I had no idea. And he called his sister and showed her, and it was like, it was pretty funny. But yeah, nefarious characters. My grandfather used to tell me stories he's passed down about his uncle used to take him around on runs to pick up money from different joints. And, he got to meet Al Capone at one point, and he met the Chicago Syndicate and all sorts of crazy shit. His dad would call him and say, hey, bring me a couple jugs of wine. We're playing cards. We ran out of wine at so-and-so's place. So he said he was 12 or 13 with 2 gallons of wine on the front seat of the Model A with no, convertible. And he was pulled up to a stoplight in DC, and a cop car with 4 cops pulls up right next to him at the stoplight. He looks over at them, they nod at him, and he nods at them, and everybody goes their way. But like he said, he was scared shitless trying to, driving as a child, basically.
Oh my God. This sounds like a movie.
Very interesting. Growing up like that, told me the meat market used to be under tents down in the mall, down on Constitution Avenue, and you'd go down there to buy produce. It was dirt road and all this kind of stuff.
You still got family in DC?
And still have family cooking in DC today. My nephew, Brendan Latoile, has several restaurants in DC, and he's doing really, really, really well. I'm so proud of him.
I know nothing about the education of a chef. Okay, so there's pastry chefs. When you went to the Culinary Institute of America, do you learn everything there is, or do you pick a subject?
That's a good question, and I was thinking about that this morning. I went to school. I graduated high school in 1986. I started cooking professionally in 1987, and I worked at the best restaurant that I could find. I lied and went in there as I have 2 years experience and all this kind of stuff. And they hired me and trained me, and I was working as a waiter. And one day I told the chef, I was like, chef, He's like, "Yes." And I was like, I don't wanna be a waiter anymore. I wanna work in the kitchen." And he looked at me real square in the face, and he's like, "Why do you wanna work in the kitchen?" I said, "'Cause I wanna be a chef." And he looked up, and all the waiters were sitting there, it's like after service doing their checkouts, and he's like, "You're making the right decision, because all waiters are dirtbags." He's like, "Show up at 8 o'clock tomorrow, and we'll get going." And I did. I stole my mom's knives, and I wrapped them up in a towel, and I went and started cooking. And uh, I never ever thought about anything else other than just wanting to understand more of that and be around more of that. So I worked there till I drove them all crazy for like 3.5 years, and they were all graduates of CIA, and they all wrote me letters endorsing, because at that time you needed to have worked 6 months at a legitimate restaurant, like in the kitchen, and you needed to be sponsored by a graduate. Someone had to write a letter for you saying this person should pursue this. And then you had to meet with a graduate who had been working in the industry for a number of years and talk to them. And it was all real frank talk. It's like, hey, this is not fun. It doesn't pay well. It's really long hours. It's super amount of stress, and are you sure you want this, and why do you want this? So
So, so they really want to make sure you are all in. 6 months at a restaurant, recommendations from CIA graduates, and a proper chat with the graduates. So when you got there, I bet it was much different than it is now. And did you know what you were getting into?
I knew what I was getting into. And CIA, yeah, was much different then. There was no cell phones, there was no internet or Food Network, or you know Anthony Bourdain hadn't written a book yet, and it was all just serious cooking. But when you go to school, it's you either choose to study French cuisine, which is the crux of everything there, and take the complete cooking course, which is 2 years. During that 2 years, you have to do like a 4 month apprenticeship, where you basically work for free at a restaurant that's approved by the school and it's supervised by master chefs come and check on you. And that restaurant has to sign off on you that yes, you completed your apprenticeship for you to get back into school to do the second half. But it's a block system, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and everybody starts out with the same thing. Everybody takes the same classes, and each class builds on the previous class. So if you don't pass A block, you don't go to B block. You got to pay a whole lot of money and take A block again until you pass it. But it starts out with culinary math and nutrition and culinary French, and then you go into knife skills class for 6 weeks, and you learn knife skills. And every day you have a series of things that are demonstrated by the chef. At that time, we had a huge video library that had tens of thousands of videos. So before you started each block, you'd go watch all the videos for that class, and it would be a professionally done video of a master chef doing everything that you're going to do.
6 weeks on knife skills? So you're not even in the kitchen cooking for a
A lot of
while.
things to do before you um, get in the kitchen, but and then introduction to hot foods. You learn Asian cuisine. There's a 6 weeks of you're just making breakfast for the entire school. Do that, and then you go on your externship and your apprenticeship, and you finish that. And you come back to school, and then the second half of the curriculum is much more complicated things: charcuterie, pates and terrines, sauce making, uh, advanced um, bread making, and you go and work through the bake shops. Or there's 10,000 loaves of bread are being made there a day.
So the students are cooking for each other, feeding each other. That makes sense.
Thousands of students are getting fed every day. That food is made by um, in house. It's pretty cool. And then the last part, there's 4 restaurants, and you work through front and back of the house of each one of the
So
restaurants.
the big picture, hosting, managing, ordering, you just know the big picture of running a restaurant, all of it.
All different aspects of waiting, folding napkins, being a general manager. You go through a whole wine program there for 6 weeks, where you're learning the entire world of wine and spirits in 6 weeks. Um, so it's incredibly comprehensive.
Yeah,
Um,
sounds like it.
and then you have two practicals to graduate. The first one is the end of your first section of cooking before you go on your apprenticeship, and it's a black box blind. Anything that's happened so far in school, anything that's happened in any of your classes, even if, say, in your fish class, you weren't cooking one day when you made a fish mousseline, you were in the butchery room that day, that fish mousseline could still be on your practical. So you go in a certain amount of time, there's a black box, you open it up, there's just enough ingredients to prepare a traditional French menu. They give you the menu, there's no recipes, you can't look at anything. And everything that you do in preparation and serving of that meal is judged by a certified master chef. So it's no bullshit. You have to, and then they ask you 10 questions on anything in cooking. And you have to get at least 7 of those questions right. Can be on anything. I got in a fight with the chef before I graduated because he asked me tell me how to make a souffle. I said, sir, chef, I said, there were no souffles on any, I said, I know that this sounds crazy, but there was no souffles on any menu in any kitchen that I ever worked at or any class that I took in school. You guys actually somehow, it slipped, because they rotate things around, and just so happened I had never made a souffle there. And he screamed at me for like 45 minutes, solid. And I didn't get a high pass because I missed that question, but
Do you know how to make a souffle?
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So
But
you mentioned you literally interned for free at are these some restaurants in New York that were
I worked.
affiliated?
So when I did my apprenticeship, I wanted to go to Jean-Louis Paldin to Watergate first off, and they immediately said no because I didn't speak fluent French. But I later found out there was like a really cute girl who was assistant pastry chef there and spoke no French whatsoever, and she was working in the kitchen. So yeah, that would have been crazy because Eric Repair had just come over from Monaco and was like this chef de cuisine there then.
Wait. I don't know this Eric Repair. Most people are not going to know him. Let me do a bit of research. Le Bernardin in New York City, in Midtown. It's ranked one of the best restaurants in the world. He's French. He's appeared in many episodes of various Anthony Bourdain's TV shows, A Cook's Tour, No Reservations, and Parts Unknown. His latest book, Vegetable Simple and Seafood Simple, he's a big deal. And this is what you're saying. This is why you wish you worked for him. Okay.
Anyways, so my second choice was in at Little Washington, and I interviewed with them for months and went out there and did stages and trails. And just as my apprenticeship started, the Gulf War broke out and fine dining went completely flat. So I struggled to find a place, but eventually did mine at the Jefferson Hotel on 16th Street in DC, just blocks from the White House. And I started as intern bitch, and I left as the pastry chef there after. I stayed there for a year, actually. I left as the full-blown pastry chef. And that's a 2 Michelin star restaurant now. Then Michelin Guide had not come to America, but it's a very, Peter Jennings had an apartment that he lived at, and Linda Evans was there, and I met Peter Max, and I made Charlton Heston a peanut butter jelly sandwich for room service.
That's what he wanted, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Yeah. I was like, Moses wants a P&J. So yeah, it was fun. And lately I see a lot of people post super high end cognacs and stuff, and people have been posting lately. I guess it's $10,000 a bottle now. Louis the 13th cognac. It comes in a backbred crystal bottle, and it's $1,000 a shot. And I remember in my apprenticeship when no one was looking, we used to go to the bar and do shots of that. Like, I wonder what that tastes like.
$1,000 shot.
It wasn't $1,000 then, but yeah, I had a great time on my apprenticeship. It was pretty awesome. That was a union hotel, and then the union cooks laws were such that you had to be supplied 3 beers per shift. I worked a double every day, so I got 6 beers. You could pretty much drink them whenever you wanted to, but they could designate an area, like they could make a painted area box where you like, if they wanted to, where you had to drink your beers. But
Wait, explain to me so you were unionized and you're allowed
3 beers
the
per shift, yeah.
3
And
beers
it
per
used
shift.
to be previously previously in the 60s and 70s, it had been 6 beers per shift.
Oh, I'd be on
I
the
s-
floor.
yeah, me too.
Is that common for chefs to be unionized?
Not at all. It was
Not
because
at
it was a hotel.
Okay.
The hotel was unionized, and it was the only union place I ever. That's the only time I ever saw it.
Have you watched The Bear and like Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares?
I mean,
Shows like that?
I watched a little bit of The Bear, and I think it's completely toxic to forming people's opinions about how an industry operates or what they think is funny, and everyone wants to run around saying yes chef and all this kind of stuff, I couldn't. It was insufferable for me to try to watch.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to ask because
Gordon
I mean,
Ramsay Gordon Ramsay is a legitimate Michelin star chef, and what they show on TV is a TV show. People just need to realize everything on TV, everything is scripted for TV. And while it may be loosely based on reality, it really has nothing to do with how day to day anything. That The Bear is about personality disorders, drug and alcohol abuse, like all these toxic traits masquerading as a food show. But
whenever you see, a show about a chef or a restaurant, there's always this palatable energy in the kitchen. Just it's hectic, it's electric. Would you say that's realistic portrayal of how the kitchen is?
I think it's the most high stress, unimportant job anyone can ever have. We're feeding people. It's not like there's no lives being saved. There's no like new science. Like there's nothing, you know, other than we entertain people's palates, and it for some reason it's just incredibly high stress. And one of the stressful things is when people are hungry, they're really irritable, you
Yeah.
know? So you have to think like everyone that comes to my restaurant is in a bad fucking mood. They're really hungry. All these sorts of things. And the thing that wait staff and all the front of the house loses track of, everyone is hungry. Get them some food. Stop arguing with them and bring them something to eat. And they're going to be happy. They're like, oh, this table is blah, blah, blah. I was like, because they're starving. They came here because they're hungry. And you're over there arguing with them. Just bring them something to eat. Just read the room. Now it's crazy. I think the internet has done nothing but bad things for restaurants. Because when I was a kid and you heard about a great restaurant, and when I say a kid, I was in my 20s or whatever, there's some place I wanted to go to, like you might have heard a little bit about it or walked by, but you did not know what was going to happen when you went in the door. And it's a show. It's a performance. What does the place smell like? Who you greeted? What does it look like? All these different textures and senses, and they're they are for the person in the moment of enjoying it, because food is a fleeting moment, and everything about going to a restaurant is these fleeting little experiences. And now they're all photographed and dissected, and someone's opinion that's not necessarily the restaurant's opinion is given left and right on a worldwide platform for everyone to listen to. And I think it takes all out the air out of a restaurant's balloon, because the restaurant is magic. It's not just food, it's an experience. It's how you feel, thing that you can sense when you go there. So I hate it. I don't I want to be surprised. I want to be shocked. I want to, whatever the restaurant wants to give me, like let them do that. Like your opinion as a diner is irrelevant. It's relevant to you, but I mean, come on, let's not call it for something more than it is. It's like a random person's opinion that has no training or
I love that perspective you just laid out. Yeah, you sometimes you read these Yelp reviews and it's nothing about the food.
I've woken up on Christmas morning years ago and just like happened to open up Yelp when it was relevant. And someone just wrote three huge paragraphs about how if there was like card for being able to serve food should be revoked and what an asshole they think I am and this and that. And I didn't never even talk to the person. Like they just hated their experience so much that they just went on a personal attack after the chef. And let's be real, like whether you like food served, whether you have a good experience or a restaurant or not, like everyone in there has a really tough job and it's a service industry. We're there to serve people. We're to service. It's literally what it is. So I think we all lose perspective of that.
How how much weight would you put on like a New York Times review? Is that gonna make or break your
Sure.
restaurant?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, Absolutely. My one of my friends in New York way back when lost a star in his New York Times review for what a reviewer called spotty seasoning on the steak.
Spotty seasoning on a steak? That sounds ridiculous. Explain that to me.
Sure. Okay. When you season something with, say, kosher salt, say you're seasoning a steak, you want your hand with the salt in it to be about 15 inches above the steak. So when you move your fingers together and the salt starts coming out, it rains down evenly. If your hand is only an inch or two above the steak, when you start releasing the salt from your hand, it's going to all fall in clumps and spots. And certain places are going to be more heavily seasoned, and other places are not going to be seasoned at all, unless you rub it really well afterwards. But still, you want it to come down like you want your seasoning to go fall like rain, or snowflakes, real evenly, even coverage.
Lost a star for that. Fuck's sake. Talk to me about Picholene working there in New York.
So, Picheline, West 64th Street, between Center Park West and Broadway. We're directly across the street from Lincoln Center. So we had pre and post theater diners. We opened at 6 and we closed at midnight for dinner. We did a lunch from 12 to 2:30 in the afternoon. When I first moved to New York, I called my mentor Bob Kincaid and I was like, Bob, well, I didn't call him Bob, I called him Chef. I was like, Chef, I'm moving to New York. I need like, where should I go? And he's like, check out Picheline. It's like up and coming. And I was like, cool. So when I went there, the place was totally kitted out. I had been on a bunch of interviews before, and everyone wanted to pay me like $285 a week, and I was like, that does not make New York City rent. So I went to Picheline, and I told Terrence I was from DC, and he was from Alexandria, and he hired me because I was a DC kid, and I stayed there for like 5 or 6 years. Just before I got there, they had gone from 2 stars to 3 stars. So like there was uptick with that, and then all these different things happened. But it was crazy. I got to cook for everyone who is anyone there. I started in the summer. My first, it was like I'd been there like a month, and it was like a Tuesday afternoon or something, and it was in between service, and the chef wasn't there, and the chef de cuisine wasn't there, and I walked through the front door, and it's JFK Jr. sitting in the lounge in the bar with his wife and like two other people, and they're smoking Cuban cigars. Everyone's smoking Cuban cigars. There's no ventilation in the bar up there, and it's like a big fucking cloud of delicious smoke. And I was like, oh shit, JFK Jr. So I walked past him, go in the kitchen, and we had all these like ancient, ancient, super wealthy single diners who would eat there a couple times a week with their caretaker in a uniform, and they're very particular. And so this lady is like, Alex comes out. He's like, this lady at table 25 wants to speak to the chef. And I was like, well, nobody's here. It's like, put the jacket on and come out, talk to her. She's crazy, furious. So I was like, yes, ma'am. I was like, I had never been in the dining room. Like, it was a weird situation where neither one of the chefs were there. And like lunch was over. Everyone had been served everything, but there was still people lingering in the dining room. She's like, you need to kick those people out of here right now, smoking cigars in the restaurant. I will not put from blah, 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 blah. And I was like, ma'am, I'm so, so sorry that they are negatively impacting your experience here, but that's JFK Jr. I was like, I'm not telling him to put his cigar out.
No.
I'm sorry. And I was like, bitch, he's more important than you ever will be. So, but yeah, everyone came there to eat. That was anyone, and everyone that went to Lincoln Center, like that was the spot. Later, Jean George opened a Columbus Circle down the street, but it was intense. We did a 3-course pre-fee menu. Everyone's in at 6 o'clock. The whole room sat, 120 people. They get the orders around 6:15. The chef just starts screaming out orders. So it's 123 course menus, and the last entree has to be out at 7:05. So you have 65 minutes to like figure all that shit out and get 2 courses into people. And then everyone moved on to pastry, and it was like desserts out. But if the last entree wasn't gone by 7:05, like the chef would be in there screaming at everyone, and it definitely did not make service go better. And once he started screaming, like it didn't shut off or de-escalate. It only escalated, and you're open for the next 6 hours. So it's like after that service was over, he'd be on your station looking through all your shit, and it's like it was a lot. Plus, it's really, really, really hot, like 125, 128 degrees behind the line, and it's 6 hour service, like I said. So prep kitchen and everything was in the basement. All those people leave at 5 o'clock. If they didn't do some stuff for you or you didn't get some shit done, like you will not be there a second day. You will not be there tomorrow. You probably won't be there through service. If you really start screwing up, like the chef cuisine starts screaming at you, he would kick you off the line and you would have to stand at the end of the line and watch him make all of your dishes while the chef came out of the office and expedited. I mean, it was like people just didn't last. They couldn't do it. It was too hot. It was too
Yeah.
intense. Even the French kids that would come over, it's like I felt like we were doing the same level of food like they were doing in Paris and stuff, but we were doing like 4 times the amount of covers a night with like a quarter of the people, and they were just like, "Fuck this! This is ridiculous." No, they were used to doing the same thing, but like doing 40 covers and having a brigade. So, but it was incredible. It focused on really incredible seafood and some incredible John Jameson lamb and Rod Mitchell seafood from New England, and we would get wild Scottish game from D'Artagnan in season, and do all kinds of crazy game.
Just the way you described like an average day at that restaurant. You gotta be special to endure that. The screaming, the chaos, the organized chaos. But oh, I just couldn't.
If you don't have your shit together, you cannot. There's no faking. There's no second chance, second day. It's New York City. There's someone to fill your spot within the hour, doing it better for cheaper. So also, there's no friends there. Like my first day there or week there, no one said anything to me at all. I would ask people like, "Hey, where do you get these pans from, or where are these stored?" And they just shrugged their shoulders. One night, we were ready for service. It was like 5 minutes to 6. Everything was done. The chef had just gone out to the office to put his like fancy jacket on, and everything was wiped down, ready to go, done. All the cooks were it's like 4 or 5 cooks were standing at the far end of the line from where my station was. So it's maybe like 25 feet, and they were just chatting and stuff. And so it was like my, like third day in New York City. It had been hellish. I decided I'm going to go say hello to everyone. It's like, and so I start walking down the line to where everyone is, and it was what I imagined prisons like. Poof, they all split apart and went back to their stations as I got three-quarters of the way down the line. So when I got to where they were, everyone was back on their stations, like heads down and shit. And I was like, okay, all right. I just went home on the train, just cried the whole
Oh,
way home on the train. It's like, what am I doing here? Like, this is like not just being able to do the food, but just being able to survive in that environment. Like, you have to really, really want
yeah.
it.
Sounds
You
like it. Sounds so brutal.
In a few months, I was all of this dude's bosses, though, and they gave me the sous chef position. And I never, ever let them forget how they treated me that night, ever.
Wow. You got your they got their comeuppance.
My mom taught me as a child revenge is a dish best served cold.
Yes. Touche. Yeah.
No, nothing evil, but just like, heads down. The experience you get, like if you're on the meat station there, say you're cooking racks of lamb, maybe you'll cook 60 or 70 racks of lamb in one night. So if you work 6 days a week times 60, you're cooking 360 racks of lamb a week. It's like over 1,000 a month. So the learning curve is so exponentially skyrocketed faster than working in any restaurant anywhere else in any city where maybe you're going to cook 10 racks of lamb a night, in a smaller tier city, that's times six, you're going to cook 60 in a week. Whereas in New York, you're going to cook 60 in a night. So your level of mastery of things is you get to a level in cooking that you're not going to get working someplace where you're make a lower volume of production on a daily basis. Like you just will never get there in your lifetime.
You asked me if there was anything you needed to prep for the podcast, and I just told you about microphone. And your text back was "heard chef" with an exclamation mark. What's the communication in a kitchen?
If the chef tells you something, you better respond back to him that you heard that and acknowledged it. And then it's on you. Otherwise, there's a lot of noise and everything. And, it's also a respect thing. Yes, I heard that and you need that. And yes, I'm going to do that. And if you don't get back from someone, then you don't know that that thing is positively coming your way. So communication is essential in any successful relationship, and it's integral in the fast-paced world of the kitchen. And a lot of times you'll have to say it back, you know, order fire two salmon medium rare, order fire two salmon medium rare, heard chef, like you call the order back. Order fire means put it in the window, put it in the fire, and then put it up when it's done. Or so you have to. There's a lot of different things. Things can be ordered. They can be order fired. They can be order fire pickup. Order fire means like ordering it and put it on the fire and cook it, but don't put it on the plate yet. Order fire pickup means go all the way, cook it, put it on the plate, put it in the window. Then there's a lot of timing with other people's stations. Some of your cooking may take 35 minutes, and the fish guy, his stuff only takes 6 minutes. So when the lamb's ready and it's resting, you're like, pick up table 63 with 5 minutes out of the fish. So then the fish guy fires his stuff, and then it gets to the window at the same time. And then the chef's there to pass all that stuff off to the food runners that take it out of the kitchen. It's a machine that everybody plays the integral part in. But so anyway, I worked in New York for a long time, and then I transitioned out of restaurants. I'm 39 years. I've been a personal chef for the past few years. Um, I have. I just started cooking for a multi-billionaire on his estate, so that's
Yeah.
super cool. Um,
Can you name this
it's interesting. I can't.
multi-billionaire?
No,
Millionaire?
no B with the B. No, I had to sign a
Oh,
non-disclosure agreement, so I can't really talk about him at all.
wow.
But it's a multiple thousand-acre estate, and then he has another huge estate in the Southwest that's ginormous, and it's pretty awesome. It's nice because when you get to we all as chefs we get into cooking because we love to cook, but the higher you rise through the ranks, it's really you have a teaching job. You need to know how to fix equipment. interpersonal things, do accounting stuff, keep equipment running, ordering, and then training people how to make things as if you made them yourself.
I really want to talk about this review. I want the listeners to hear this review. I wish I got the journalist's name. I did not. I did not write it down. But he was talking about you at Shea Billy, and he hated meatloaf, but he said,
Oh, Tim Carmen. Yeah,
yeah,
I changed his life with my meatloaf.
you did. You did. He said, I am now free to cultivate an affection for meatloaf, and you shattered his bias.
I've changed a lot of people's opinions about how they feel about this or that. Oh, I hate beets. Oh, I can't stand leeks. Oh, I don't like garlic. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You just had them improperly prepared. Let's try it again. And then they're like, oh, I love beets. Oh, I love garlic. Oh, I love whatever it is.
I bet that made you feel good.
It did. It's nice to hear that. Back to Picheline for a second, because if we could talk about the most important thing that ever happened, really in my life, happened there. My hero growing up cooking was Jean-Louis Paladin, the famous French chef who he was the youngest chef at the time to get two Michelin stars. He was 27, and he had his restaurant, the Watergate in DC. He was I think everything that happens today in modern food, you can trace back to him. Like he was really farm to table, it's like oh, so many things. But I went to Picheline after I was sous chef already. I went in one day just like 3.5 hours early. I was going to get a bunch of stuff done. Like I was really serious about my job. And it's like, if you want to win, you have to be ready and you got to put in the time and the effort and stuff. So I was there like before lunch even started. And I was walking down the hallway and Terrence was walking past me. He's like, "Oh, Jean-Louis Paladin's coming in with Fred, his publicist today for lunch." And I turned around, I like grabbed the chef, and I was like, "What did you say?" And he said it again. He's like, "Jean-Louis Paladin and his publicist Fred are coming in for lunch today." And he's like, they want to have, chef's menu, whatever. And I was like, I started crying. I was like, Terrence, I was like, he's the reason why I cook. Like he's it. And he took a breath and he like looked at the wall for a second. He's like, all right, tell the chef de cuisine that you're that he is assisting you and you are on full control of whatever you want to serve to Jean-Louis today.
He gave you the opportunity of a lifetime. Amazing.
And I was like, seriously? And he's like, yeah. He's like, whatever you want to do. And so we had everything available there like that day. We had these crazy hand dived diver scallops from Maine that were gorgeous. We get them in the shell. I met the guy that used to get them, and he put the big crazy helmet on and actually like dove down to get these scallops. So I did a tartare of diver sea scallops on this beautiful polished mother of pearl shell with crushed ice and seaweed, and I started with that. And then I had seen this dish in Marco Pierre White's on the as the breasts and the legs, and we had all that stuff when we were doing civet sauces with chocolate and blood and cool shit. But on his plate, he had the head split in half, straight down the middle, and it was on the plate, so you could eat the brains. And these birds, so I cooked it, everything, and foie gras and cabbage and this blood and chocolate sauce with this roasted Scottish wood pigeon, and it had these crazy claws that were like up in the air on the plate. And I had this really sharp, big chef's knife, and I had never tried to split a little roasted bird's head before, and so I just went for it in a very sure motion, and it split like with a laser beam, like straight down the middle perfectly. And I put it on the plate, and I told Alex, the waiter, to serve a tiny demi-tasse espresso spoon so that he could eat the brains with a spoon, and dessert and everything. And I peered around the corner, and I saw them sitting there, and he had his arm up on the banquette, this big crazy hair. And they drank some great wine. And he left, and I wanted to go out the table and say something to him so bad, and I was like, "No, you spoke with your food." I was like, "Shut the fuck up and get back in the kitchen." You know, I had no like. There's a hierarchy. Like the sous chef does not walk out into the dining room in like a Michelin level restaurant. Absolutely not. So I went back in the kitchen, and it was like a month passed, and this guy I know, and he worked for a food service group that was Jean Louis was opening a restaurant in Manhattan, and he was there in the kitchen trying to sell him some shit, you know. And my friend spoke French, and so these visiting French chefs, like these Michelin star chefs, came in the kitchen, a small group of them, there to visit Jean Louis, and they're like, "Hey," and they were talking in French, and my friend was there, kind of listening in on the conversation because he was there simultaneously, like selling foie gras or showing Jean Louis these different high end products. And so the chefs were like, "Hey, we're going to go out and eat like some real like New York City French food. Like where do we go?" And he looked at him and he goes, "Go to Picholine. They really know what they're doing there in French." And so Eddie called me and he told me that. You know, he Eddie called me and told me that, and that was the most meaningful thing that's ever happened to me in my life.
Oh,
When your hero tells you that you know what you're doing, you know, like
yeah.
nothing else anyone has ever said about me in a review or cooking or anything has ever mattered after that.
That moment, you just, yeah,
That was it. That was it.
that was
You
it.
know,
Oh, wonderful.
yeah, a lot of cool experiences. I got to go to a restaurant Danielle in a hooded sweatshirt after service and sit at the bar one night, and I was like, "Chef, I can't go to." I was like, I have a Champion hoodie on. I can't like in jeans and old Chuck Taylor tennis shoes. I was like, it's a 4-star restaurant. Like I can't, you know, it's like he's like, dude, he's like, when you're a chef in New York City, it doesn't matter what the fuck you're wearing. He's like, you can go anywhere you want to, dress any way that you want to. And I was like, for real? He's like, check it. He had a hoodie on too, so we like went there and no problem. Like we sat at the bar, had a whiskey, you know,
Nice.
talked to Danielle, walked through the kitchen, picked up some stuff out the door, and I was like, holy shit, you know, the maitre d's have these
You
the ma-
arrived, dude.
well, it's just nice being able to stay casual. It's one of the
Yeah.
beautiful things about being a chef is like you never really have. I mean, you get dressed up in the silly starched white outfit, um, but you know, otherwise you just come as you are.
Yeah. Hey, we've got 7 minutes left. I want to talk about you. You sent me this photograph of a team, special ops team you're working with, and one of the fellas had a t-shirt on that read, "I bake so I don't punch people in the
In the
throat."
in the throat, yeah, it has a big cupcake on it. Yeah, I thought that was the greatest. He loves to bake, and he was like sort of self-taught. Um, so yeah, I tried to teach those guys, those groups, knife skills because they only know like how to stab people. They don't know how to like you know
They're vets.
they're special forces vets, like long-term deployment, transitioning into home life again. So I showed them how to make meals. Like one aspect could be fun to make for the kids, like the dessert, but it'd also be like a steak dinner, you know, something they could go home and cook with their spouse or the significant other and their kids to like help to reintegrate themselves in a way, like through nutrition and love and doing things together. And it was really powerful. They were cried uncontrollably after each one. It was just,
Oh,
we didn't even really talk about anything crazy. It's just spending time together and just with people having 12 special forces like career deployment. They weren't officers. They're all like kind of grunt. They did like the real shit, you know, behind the scenes, having their attention and entertaining them all, and really doing something that makes them super focus on the here and now present. Because a lot of them they can't focus or super scattered and have a lot of trauma. So doing something that's involved in sensory and you know really captivated them. It got their attention, and we had a great time, a great time. But you know, it's funny. I'd be like, "Hey, take all the seeds out of those peppers and just save the other thing." You know, it's like all these tiny seeds and these chili peppers, and I turn around and look, and it's like every single seed was gone in the trash can. Like I've never seen like the cleanest, most organized because they're so used to like doing all these super high level things, and instructions are critical. So they're taught if you don't understand something, like ask questions until you thoroughly understand it, because otherwise yourself and a bunch of other people could lose their lives.
Mm.
So there's a level of humility and just interest about those people. This guy, this was incredible,
No,
super,
it's really meaningful work you're doing.
super special.
Yeah.
I look forward to doing more stuff with them. It's just it's all charity, and I haven't financially been in a place to be able to put those gigs on yet, but I hope to do more of them this year.
I ask all my guests the same question before we finish. What's on your playlist? What music moves you?
I love listening to like Roy Ayers' Ubiquity, and I've been listening to Lord Huron a bit lately, some chill stuff. Also, Carly Simon's first album, and I found some really old super old share albums produced by Sonny Bono in the LP stack. So um, listen to records, trying to tune out a
Yeah.
lot of the white noise that's happening now.
Yeah, I was perusing your Instagram. I like the music played, some Bad Brains, some Beatles.
I grew up going to Bad Brain shows at the original 930 Club and seeing Black Flag in DC, and I New Order. I went to like all the New Order and Susie the Bancy shows in high school and stuff.
It was lovely to have you on. Thank you so much for your time. I feel like I I would definitely want you back to chat more. You have such an interesting life. It's just full.
We can we can pick one thing to talk about next time. I would love to come back and talk some more. Thank you for your time today. Um,
The pleasure is all mine. Thank you, Lawrence.
I appreciate it.